Never take that away from us.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. We'd like to welcome you to the kickoff for our Student Government Association elections. This is something new that we're doing this year, that we're going to be hosting this at this time for you. We have three events actually happening right here, back to back. We're going to be starting with a State of the University address from your student body president in just a moment. We do have some food up here in front if people are interested. And I'm hearing that people cannot hear me in the back. How's that? All right. And what we'll also do is after the student body president gives the State of the University address, we will be having a debate of the student body president candidates that are on the ballot that will go live this afternoon. So you'll have an opportunity to meet them. And then after the presidential debate is over, you'll have an opportunity to meet the candidates that are running in this year's election for student senate, student body president, and student body vice president. All right, so without any further ado, I'm going to introduce you to your student body president, Kyle Frazier.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming. I would just like to take a moment to share my thoughts on this great university and its future. When I think of USM, I think of opportunity. 4 short years ago, I walked through the doors of Payson Smith Hall for an 8:30 a.m. introductory statistics class, the first class of my college career. I remember sitting in that class and reflecting on all that I had done over the past 4 years in high school, and I would try to look to the future. When doing so, it always appeared incredibly blurry. Although I did not know exactly what the next 4 years would have in store for me, I knew that I would be spending them here, and that within the bounds of USM's 3 campuses, I would have the opportunity to make something of myself, prepare myself for the future, and to be successful. Just as I have changed through my time at USM, the university has changed as well. We have seen 3 presidents, with the 4th taking a seat atop 7th law this summer. We have seen some of our favorite professors let go, programs eliminated, and while some remain vigilant, we are all here for a reason. Something brought us here to USM, and more importantly, something has kept us here. Although we all have incredibly busy, important lives, I think that we should all take a step back for a moment and think about USM. Our school is going through great changes, just as we are. And while as students we rely heavily upon our faculty and administrators to keep us afloat, we must look at ourselves as a crutch for the university and keep helping it through these changes. When large changes like this are made, we are faced with 2 options. We can either look at the changes as an effort to fix failure, or we can look at it as an opportunity. I prefer to do the latter. Changes happen, for better or worse, and oftentimes they are out of our control. But we must remember the greatness that we still have at USM. Despite the cuts we have endured, we still maintain a faculty to student ratio of 15:1, which is on par with the national average. The Metropolitan University vision is something that we can also really get behind. While it is understandable that not everyone will be behind this movement, it is an opportunity for USM to become stronger than we are right now. We cannot fight the fact that our campus is fixated in Portland, Maine's largest metropolitan area, and we need to embrace the city, and we need the city to embrace us. Not only does USM deserve a great city, but this city deserves a great university, and that is what USM is and will continue to be for years to come. This year has been incredible for the university. As I said, we're gearing up to dive further into the Metropolitan Vision with Dr. Lynn Kuzma heading the Metropolitan University Initiative as its executive director. Although I am graduating in May, I cannot wait to see the way USM intertwines itself in the Portland community to help make it stronger. There are many things that USM does well, and many things that the university has at its advantage that I think needs to be more fulfilled. Portland is an amazing city. I have lived in the city since the summer before my sophomore year, and I have absolutely fallen in love with it. Despite the fact that our dorms are in Gorham, I believe that we need to do a better job of connecting our students with the city. Although that is part of the Metropolitan University mission, we can do more. Just on the other side of Interstate 295, there are world-class restaurants, a wonderful downtown area, and so many things that our students can take advantage of. We have a desirable city for college students to want to live in. We need to provide a university that college kids will want to attend. I think the general perception of many students is that Gorham and Lewiston are being lost in the metropolitan vision. I believe we need to pull these campuses together, have one united USM. Although Gorham is only 13 miles away from Portland, it often takes over 30 minutes to get there. While at the same time, hopping on I-95 North and getting off on exit 80, I can get to the Lewiston campus in just about 40 minutes. We must not make any of the students at any of these campuses feel as though they are being cast off as a result of the Metropolitan University plan. We must strive to pull all campuses together and begin to intertwine ourselves into this community. Perhaps we could have more athletics play in Portland. We could have our nationally ranked baseball team play at Hadlock. We could have our hockey team play at the Portland Ice Arena. We could have the basketball and volleyball teams play at the Expo. These are just ideas that I have had, but they would help blur the line that has so clearly been drawn in the sand between Portland and Gorham, and students can just rally behind the metropolitan concept. As I have said, we must play to our strengths, which include being in Portland, but also remember what our strengths are. This is why I appreciate and I value the Board of Trustees' recent decision to extend the tuition freeze for the 4th straight year. We must remain a university that the people and students out of state and from Maine can count on for a quality education at an affordable cost. I have also seen on social media and heard from many students who attend USM that they wish USM would spend more money on saving their faculty and less money on all of these commercials. I would just like to take a moment to clear up some of those things. This money was given to us from the system for one purpose and one purpose only: marketing. At the beginning of the year, the university had about a $250,000 budget for marketing. The grim facts are that the deposits are down 11% from where they were last year. Furthermore, when I began here at USM, we had about 9,000 undergraduate students, and now we have about 6,500. The university cannot and will not survive if this trend continues. The money for marketing will help bring in students, which will bring in money, which will save our professors and save our programs. Saving this university will be a process, but a process that will be worth it. USM will be where we need to be. We just need to trust in that process. These things don't happen overnight. We must weather the storm because we all want to see USM succeed. We wouldn't be here if we didn't. So we must stay calm, remain passionate about our studies, and be proud of our school. I want my fellow students to see commercials on the television and hear them on the radio and not think they wish the money went to other things, but rather think about how proud they are that their school is on TV and use it to encourage other students to apply. We must advocate for USM, for without us, USM would be nothing.
Woo! Yeah.
I remember last summer, the morning that it was announced that President Flanagan would be taking over as interim president. I had the privilege with other students of meeting with him to talk about his plans for the university. He spoke of hope and of restoring USM to where it needed to be. I think that he has done an incredible job in his year here, and if you see him, I hope you take the time to thank him for the job that he has done. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, President Flanagan. However, we must look to Dr. Kesselman for the future. What excites me most about Dr. Kesselman is his background in student affairs. He has held numerous positions at Stockton University, including Vice President of Student Affairs, and on top of that, he did tremendous work growing community engagement at Stockton. I am so excited to know that the future of USM is in his hands, but it's not just in his hands. It's in our hands as the students. Together, I believe that we can work to move USM forward. In conclusion, USM is a place to experience new things, and most importantly, a place where we can learn new things about ourselves. USM and its faculty and its administration are always going to be there for us, and right now, we must be there for USM. It is no secret that we have hit a bit of a rough patch, but with some perseverance, we can help USM get where we all want it to be. I think a little bit of Husky pride can go a long way, and I encourage you, all of my fellow students, to help me spread that Husky pride. Thank you and have a great afternoon.
Okay, now we will be the student body presidential candidate debate. At this time, I have a couple questions that I will be moderating with our candidates. If you have questions you'd like to submit, I'll be down here in front with the microphone, and you're welcome to come down and submit questions for the candidates. We do have some that are prepared for them. This is a new format, as I mentioned before. So unfortunately, one of our candidates is not able to make it for scheduling reasons. So we will introduce Derek Kennedy later. He is on the ballot for student body president as well. So if I could have the candidates come up to the front, and each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves to you. And then after that, we will begin a round of questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the questions, and then they will start the next round of questions. And again, if you have questions that you'd like to submit for any of the candidates, you may do so. See me in the front. I'll be down here with the microphone, and we will start our candidate introductions with John Jackson.
I was told to speak right into the microphone, so if you guys can't hear me out back, let me know. My name is John Jackson. I am currently a junior here at USM. I am a double major in political science and business administration. I also currently hold a seat on the Student Senate. And for those of you who have not had a chance to check out the SGA webpage in regards to what us as candidates stand for the most part, I want to address a majority of the issues that a lot of our students are visiting right now. Food issues with Aramark, meal card swipes, parking issues that have been addressed in the past but have not been accomplished, as well as student governance and new plans for the way that the students are being grouped into quote unquote groups for the upcoming year in their housing and dorms. I also want to continue working with our current administration as well as the marketing department, and look like I'm getting cut off, so that'll be it. If any more questions, I'd be happy to answer any. Thank you.
And next we have Paul McGuire.
Thank you. What's going on? First off, I'd like to thank my other candidates, the moderator, and everybody that showed up today. Even those of you who are just eating food, thanks for showing up. It's important. In preparation for today's event, like any good college student does, I got on my computer and I went straight to YouTube. And I know you guys can relate to that. On YouTube, I watched videos of big universities having college debates and elections, and it was really inspiring because there was so much student participation. And it got me excited for this event, and it inspired me to bring that same culture here to USM. But the other reason why I'm bringing it up is I want to challenge everybody that's here to be just as enthusiastic, not just to ask hard questions, but to have some fun, because this is an important event. Just a quick introduction. My name is Paul McGuire. It's my second year here at USM, political science major, economics minor. I'm a non-traditional student. I did 5 years in the Navy right out of high school. And then last year, I moved from California with my beautiful wife and daughter right back here to the state of Maine, and so that I could come to USM. And I guess that's all I have for now. Thank you.
And now I'll introduce our next candidate, Rebecca Tanis.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming. I think a lot of you know me that are out there. My name is Rebecca Tanis. I'm your current student body vice president. I have been a member of the Student Government Association for 2.5 years. So before I was your student body vice president, I was a member on the Student Affairs Committee of your Student Senate, where we are always asking questions, starting conversations, especially when I was on Student Government Association, Student Senate. I was tasked with buses. So I was on the buses asking questions, getting students' concerns when, we're traveling for half an hour. It's a great place to ask those questions. And so I think I have a lot of skills that I've honed in and mastered in the last 2.5 years to be able to listen to your questions and concerns and address them with all of my experience and my connections to our student life, faculty, and staff and administration. And I would be privileged for you to allow me to show you that and exhibit all of these skills that I've learned as your next student body vice president.
Okay, those are our candidates who were able to attend this afternoon. We're now going to start the question round. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond to the questions. We're going to go in order. This time we're going to start with Paul McGuire. And the question for the candidates is, with the current transitions and change as referenced in the State of University address by Kyle Frazier, what do you see are your most critical action steps or roles that you'll be taking in your first few months as student body president?
All right, thank you. I think one of the most important things to address is some of the disconnect here at the student body and the metropolitan brand. It's been endorsed by our student government and by the university, but it hasn't been endorsed by our student body yet. And I think that's because there's an ideological split between what the university should be. Should it be ran like a business? Should people get skills in order that are necessary in today's workplace? Or should it be for education that leads to civic engagement and innovation and technology? I think that the student body needs to take a stand on where that's going to be, the balance between those two things. I think that's probably the most important thing that the student body has to decide. How is this university going to be perceived to employers, to the local community, and in academia? Thank you.
All right, so what I would do first, I can tell you the first 2 things that I have on my agenda if you grant me this position. The first thing I want to do is continue working with your student government association. When you're voting for me, you're not just voting for me, but you're voting to empower all of your student leaders. We have 21 student senators, and I want to ensure that they are fulfilling the best of their duties. And I know SGA inside and out, all of our entities, our new leadership transitioning. And so right now, this spring and this summer is where we train these individuals to come together and decide to step up their game. Additionally, I would like to have a conversation with our students about what we want to hold our new president accountable for. I know personally, I would like to see a meeting with the student body president and the student senate chair once a month. That's something new that just started with David Flanagan, and I would like to continue that with our president. So we know we automatically will be having a conversation with him once a month to share your opinion as the students. On top of that, I think we can address how do we receive communication from our new presidents. I think that there's been a lot of negative feedback from the emails that we have been receiving from David Flanagan. So I think we can explore maybe doing videos. President Theo Calico did a video one time. There wasn't a phenomenal resounding, yeah, let's see this again, but maybe we should revisit this. Maybe we'd like to see a blog. You know, maybe we want him to have a Twitter. I don't know. I think seeing him at athletic events, saying, hey, we'd love to see you at least once a month at an athletic event. I would like to have that conversation with students first thing, so that when this president comes, we can say, hey, here's our list of what we're going to hold you accountable for. And not just him, but also our student leaders.
Well, the first 2 things that I would do, starting with number 1, would be to have a meeting amongst all of the leadership within the school, all of the administrative leadership, all of the student body leadership, as well as the faculty leadership, just to find out their views, ideas, and the methods in which they choose or are going to choose to address our Metropolitan University brand that we have so far emerged ourselves into. Also, I want to work with student leaders within the student senate, starting with the student senate and working its way down through its entities about accountability, about continuing the job that they're supposed to be doing, getting out there, getting all of the student feedback that they should be doing to find out what it is that you guys have on your agenda that you have issues with, because without you, we wouldn't be around. The school wouldn't even be here. And I can tell, I have had multiple interviews with our incoming president. He is a very active member of his current university, and probably will be a very active member amongst this university as well. I do agree with some expectations, as with our candidate, Rebecca Tanis, in regards to what we should expect of him, as well as to find out what he expects of us in the process. So, and with that, thank you very much.
All right. So the next question, and we're going to start this next question with Rebecca. And this question is going to be, given USM's unique environment of 3 campuses and a large student population, both traditional and non-traditional students, residential and commuter, how will you make yourself available for the students, and how will you be able to represent the students and hear from the students given the vast footprint of the USM campus?
So I am aware of many hats. I will say I do not wear all the hats. I am a commuter. I have been in Greek life. I have been an athlete. I am a STEM major. I am a member of the Student Government Association. I am a BSO organization member. I've been a president of a BSO organization, and I have been on both Portland and Gorham campuses. But there are a lot of things that I am not. What I am is a good listener. So I don't know how many of you have heard of our strengths program here, our Title III grants, but my #1 strength is being a relator. I naturally empathize well with others. I'm inclined to do so, and to really be an ear for the students. That is what is going to cater best to this. Addition to that, one of the biggest things I want to work on next year is communication. That's another one of my 5 strengths. I'm sure if you've ever talked to me, you know I can talk forever, and I apologize if you ever seen an email for me. Sometimes they get a little long. I'm all about the communication, and that's communication between your student leaders, those who have titles and those who do not, communication between your administration members and your students, and communication between your faculty and staff members and your students. This is what we need to build, and this is how we're going to tackle all of these different students that we have, is being an ear as well as a voice.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that it was my turn. So, over the last year, I have diligently tried within the Student Senate to open up the lines of communication between the students and the administration. Now, it's going to start obviously with your student government before we can actually work our way into the students themselves. I have created some pretty good contacts amongst the administration, so I believe. I have also introduced an email for the Senate itself for students to actually go through and send questions, concerns, comments, or anything that they want amongst themselves to the Student Senate. I would do the same thing as president of the student body here at University of Southern Maine, whereas I would basically be available to receive any email at any point in time, and in conjunction with my 8 years in the military, also have an open door policy to where at any time I'm holding office hours, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that anybody might have. If you see me in the hallway, in class, anything like that, stop me, catch me, ask me a question. If I don't know the answer, I will take your information. I will get back to you with that answer as best as I possibly can. But as I said before, it starts with your student government, and it's going to work its way down as far as I know. And I believe that the more your voice is heard, the better off this university is going to be. Thank you.
What's going on? I think as far as communication, which is a huge problem here at the university, there's two things that need to happen, or two things that I'm going to make happen, which is visibility and accessibility. By a show of hands, how many students here can name 2 senators? May the record show not many hands went up. I think that they have an obligation to make themselves accessible, like all of student government and all student leadership, to make themselves accessible to the students and create avenues in which they can communicate so that they can represent them. And one of the things I think that they should happen is on Fridays when the student senate meets, they should wear something to identify themselves as a student senator. You know, approach me. If you have problems, bring them up to me. That's what they should be doing. And then visibility, it comes back to the same thing. How are people supposed to access who they don't know are in student government? So I want to push for those things. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, for this next question, we're going to be starting with Paul. And this question is going to be, at the end of the term, if elected into this office, what will be the major accomplishment that you feel that you'll be known for in your time in office? And we're going to be starting with Paul. Yep, sure thing. So if elected to this position, at the end of this term, come this time next year, what do you feel will be the major things that you will be known for from your position in your time as student body president?
Okay. Well, I think that you should look at it as far as what's happened totality, you know, the whole time, but also just like when a president gets in office, it's the first 100 days that matters. And I think it's important to hit the ground running with doing the things that I just said, increasing communication, student representation, and building relationships. I want to build relationships between USM and the community, between the student body and the administration, and between the student body itself. So thank you.
And next we'll hear from Rebecca.
I think just to start, I would like to be known, I guess. I think sometimes, like we've said, our student senators, sometimes you wouldn't know walking by them that they are a representative for you. So I think the first thing is for people to know who I am and be willing to stop me. I'm very friendly, I promise, I don't bite. You'll see me around in a lot of things. A little plug for Husky Day of Service. If any of you come on April 17th, you'll see me there. But what I would like to be known for is for helping promote a welcoming environment here and an engaging environment and restoring this pride. We want to take the next step and turn over this leaf and accept our improved vision and our new presidents and push forward. So I would like to be known as that positive spark that ignites the system. One of my strengths is being an activator. So I would like to empower you and other student senators to really embrace what we have here and to have pride in it and to succeed and go above and beyond. And that is what I would like to be known for.
As our current student body president has said, it is going to be an extremely difficult time ahead of us with all of the major changes that have happened over the last year. So one of the things that the biggest thing I would rather be remembered for is to be the worker and the person who works for you in every way possible. Whether it would be helping fix any issues that you might have with the cafeteria in Gorham, or whether it might be issues in parking on both of the campuses, allocation of extra money from the state government in appropriations, which is what I'm working on right now, as a matter of fact. So I'm a worker. I've always have been a worker. You can ask anybody on the student senate. I have done nothing but work, and I do it until if I'm not working, I'm not doing my job, is the bottom line. So if I'm not able to accomplish anything, well then, hey, that's something that obviously I failed upon. However, I don't believe that to be the case. So I believe that if there is, how do I want to put this? Let's see. Yeah. I would like to believe that the students themselves come first, whereas everybody else comes second. So allowing us to have the proper voice that we need, not only amongst the faculty, but amongst the administration, and on top of that, amongst the Board of Trustees, who are ultimately the decision makers within this university. So thank you very much.
Okay. For those of you who are just joining us, if you do have a question that you would like to ask of the candidates, I just ask that you write that down and hand that up to me, and I will add that to the queue of questions that we're going through. And we have food up front here. The next question, and we're going to start with John for this question, is what do you see are the 3 biggest issues facing USM students today?
You know, it's very difficult to bring down to 3 specific issues that are facing this university and the students of this university. It's in light of everything that has happened over this past year. However, I do believe that communication is one. The students understanding who they have elected to represent them, not only in the Senate, but as their student body president and vice president. I believe that to be one issue. One of the other issues would be the continuing evolving of the metropolitan brand within this university. It has been and it seems to be the path that this university is taking. So in the way the outlook of it looks really good, seeing how we can actually partner with multiple businesses, giving us the ability not only for internships, which will give us the on-the-job trainings that we need, but allow us to get the credits at the same time. And thirdly, I believe that we need to work on or accomplish a level of student governance within the University of Southern Maine that gives the students an actual active voice amongst the faculty, the administration, and the Board of Trustees. Both our new president, Dr. Harvey Kesselman, has been a proponent of that, at least in the interviews that I have had with him. And I believe that by adding that to USM's repertoire would give USM a much more, and the students much more say, much more in what actually goes on here at the university in terms of cuts, in terms of budgets, in terms of, you know, anything and everything that pretty much has to get done. So thank you very much.
Okay, what are some of our challenges? I think we can all agree that probably our biggest challenge is our budgets. I don't know how much more needs to be said about that, but we are fighting back and we are ready to embrace the new changes and our new president and where we're going from here now that we have experienced this hardship. Secondly, I think our recruitment and our retention is a weakness right now. We really need to spend a lot of time and effort reaching out to new students, potential students, and not only just reaching out to them, but keeping them after. Some great tools that we have for that are our Board of Student Organizations and our Greek Life. Because if you're a member of an organization and you really feel like you belong here, you're more likely to stay here. These are some phenomenal tools, and these are the student leaders that we need to empower to have these skills to share with others so that these students are staying here. And another thing is our advertisement with that. I know my vice president is really passionate about looking at our website, seeing how useful it is. What are feasible changes that won't cost money to make it more welcoming, and how do we advertise these things? And lastly, our pride. We need to take this next step. Thank you, Kyle, our current president agreed with that one. We need to turn over this leaf. We're never gonna recruit students. We're never gonna grow. We're never gonna fix this budget problem if we don't have fun and enjoy where we have. From this cut, we have really seen how much our students care about our faculty members and care about people like Chris O'Connor, our head of student life. You saw so many students rally behind that cut. From these cuts, we have realized how strong and passionate our students are. So let's take this weakness and find our strength in it and grow.
All right, I think if there's one thing that our school needs to do better, and that's student representation. USM is very diverse, but in a lot of ways, it's not reflective of that in student government and student leadership and a bunch of other ways. A quick anecdote, I was a commuter student from Brunswick, so I'd go to the Bowdoin College library. And when I went there, I was a little bit let down, not just by the facility, which isn't as nice as the Glickman Library, but by the level of diversity of the people around me. If you come to a class here at USM, there's going to be diversity of age, sexual orientation, race, creed. There's so much diversity, and you don't see that enough. So I think that needs to be addressed. And the other thing that we need to do more of next year especially is using the school and the student as an asset. Just like our president mentioned earlier, our student president, Kyle, he said that one of the big things is marketing and advertisement as far as recruitment of students. Well, that's true, but we have an excellent business and marketing department. Why don't we let them do the advertisement? I think there are plenty of resources and assets at the school that we don't use, and that's what I plan to do next year. Thank you.
Okay, our next question, I believe, is going to start with Paul, and this is on the referendum question number 1. As it's currently stated, we're curious to hear your thoughts on this. Referendum 1 is, would you be interested in adjusting the hours of the Gorham Cafe and the Woodbury Cafe to better accommodate late classes, athletes, and other conflicts?
Okay, before I get into the referendum question itself, I want to make one thing clear. A good student body president is going to represent the views of the students. He's going to advocate for the student body and not their own personal opinions. So I think that it's somewhat irrelevant what I have to feel as far as these referendum questions. The student body should be the one that makes these decisions, and they are. They do it through voting. But to answer the question, I think that it's a good idea, as long as it serves the needs of the students and it doesn't cost the students any more money. Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll hear from Rebecca.
Yes, I am in favor about revisiting the hours that we have for our cafeterias. This isn't just a Portland or a Gorham issue separately. We are renewing our contract with Armark, potentially. And so this is a really prime time to address these issues. I think, in Portland, I've come out of my labs. My labs are 5 hours long. I'm a chemistry major, and I'm so hungry after, and there's no food. It's all closed already, and I am distraught. And then, oh no, do I have cash on me for that vending machine? Because everyone has cards, and you can't use your swipe for your student ID on those vending machines. So I think looking at what our classes are and who we're catering to in our commuter population in Portland for whether or not we need to adjust the hours in Portland is something that's really worth looking into. And in Gorham, we're talking about the average college student that's aged 18 to 24. How are these people living? What time are they going to bed? Because if the majority of students in Gorham aren't going to bed until midnight, maybe we should be serving food until 9 p.m. I think that we can definitely look at the hours in Gorham, because I think that that's a valuable thing to revisit. And I know my partner in crime was actually in a conversation this morning around table about issues with the dining halls, because maybe it's a matter of, are they continuing to serve new food until 7 or 7:15, like they're contractually supposed to, even though it's open until 7:30? Is that the issue, or is it the overall time? Do we want to open until 8:30 or some other arbitrary time? So I really am passionate about this. If students vote yes for this, about looking into what is the real problem and how to be addressed and what's the best solution.
Great.
First off, I just want to apologize for not being able to be here this morning to do much campaigning, because I actually was a part of that meeting that Ms. Tanis was talking about with B&D, who is a contractor, a contracted company that is there to get the student's opinion as to what they want from their next food service company. I have been involved in this project now since the first week of October. Had many meetings with Chris Kinney, who is the head of Aramark, as well as spent this afternoon or this morning, right before this, in a meeting with the Student Affairs Committee, speaking with Chris on regards to this topic as well. I truly support this topic. I believe that there are multiple ways that we can go ahead to be allowed or to be able to implement different procedures that will allow our student athletes, our students that are coming in late from classes, anything like that, to be able to actually get a decent hot meal without having to go to what everybody calls the crack to get and use their Husky Bucks. Because once those are gone, most people have no money left after that. And the only way that they can get that is to, buy more. So I have a very strong position on this. I've been working on it now for over a year to get it to the point to where it is actually at. And if it wasn't, I would say probably for the Student Senate, the Student Affairs Committee, and everybody within that committee, then it would not be, they would not be where they are today, right now within the negotiations. Thank you very much.
All right. For our next question, we're going to start with Rebecca. This is on referendum number 2. We'd like to know your stance on this. Referendum 2 is, would you be in favor of expanding the Saturday Mall bus run to also include stopping at places like Walmart and Target?
Yes, I am a big supporter of this one. In case you haven't been on the bus, it passes right by Walmart. Walmart's actually on the same street as the mall, just on the Scarborough side of the town line versus the South Portland side of the town line. So I think that this isn't going to be a large step and a large expense to see to fruition. When we're talking about what college students need, they need things that are inexpensive and practical. Think about going to the mall and trying to find what you want in a dorm room, like underbed storage or little knickknacks and hangers, going to Macy's to buy hangers. I didn't name any store, you didn't hear that, but they might be more expensive at a mall store than at Walmart or Target. So I think we need to take in consideration that we do have average college students that are on budgets and are looking for practical supplies. And those are what you find at places like Walmart or Target. And seeing that it's already on the way, it's right there, I'm very strongly in support of this.
Yeah, I think this referendum is a bit of a no-brainer. College students, they need to go other places than the mall. I know that when I do shopping, I go to the grocery store, I go to department store. So you can't get detergent or toothpaste at the mall. So I think you should definitely vote yes on this. People need to go to department stores. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple queued up.
In regards to this student referendum question, I fully support this student referendum question simply because over the course of the last year, we have heard people tell us that the mall runs on the evenings are just, there's not enough time to go to the mall, do what you got to do, and then come back. Bus runs don't run well enough. There's not enough time. So when we wrote this referendum question, we actually wrote it so that way it would benefit the students a lot more, hopefully giving 2 or 3 trips to the mall during the weekends, so that way people can go for the course of the day, go to Walmart, do what they have to do in agreement with Ms. Tanis at the same time about picking up the supplies that are inexpensive that you are going to need for your dorm rooms, like perhaps those single stove thingies that you're not supposed to have, but I mean, who knows, right? Either way, as well as all the compartments and storage facilities that you might want to have at the same time. So I fully support this. I believe it's a great idea. And I think that the USM students that live on campus are actually going to benefit more from this than the current schedule actually is. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so our third question, referendum question, this will be fielded first by John. And this question is, would you be in favor of increasing the frequency of the late night bus to the Old Port?
Okay. From what I understand, there used to be a first Monday bus or first Friday bus here at USM. Unfortunately, I'm a commuter student, so I never really actually took advantage of it. However, I would be more in favor of this opportunity because downtown Portland, for those of you who are actually here and have taken part in Portland, not only is there, if you're over the age of 21, there are a string of bars that you can go to, but there are some absolutely amazing restaurants, boutiques, and other miscellaneous things around the town that are open late on a Friday night to give you that ability to go out, relax, have some fun, get rid of some of the stress from school, and then, come home, do what you got to do for the weekend, start your homework, unfortunately, do all that good stuff. But I am fully in support of this referendum question. Thank you very much.
It's Paul.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Once again, I want to stress, I think it needs to serve the needs of the students, and it shouldn't cost the students any more money. Is there a huge need for it? I'm not aware of one, but let the students vote. And if they say there is, then I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. Like John was saying, there are definitely a lot of restaurants, and if someone wants to go from Gorham to get some Five Guys and they don't have a car, let them do it. So, thank you.
I personally am not in favor of this. I think we have a lot of things we're looking to spend money on, and this is not a priority for us. We do still have Friday night bus runs. There's actually one on the 20th where they offer 4 runs to Monument Square that then later on go back to Gorham. So the last one either leaves or arrives at Gorham at 12:45. So it's a really great way to get students in our community to have fun and to have safe rides, especially if some of these students don't have cars, and you don't have to be a resident to use it. But this whole Friday night run, and specifically usually for Friday night art walks, was just instilled last spring due to Dean Joy Puffle. And I think that it was really great. I think it's been very well received. I don't think these buses are crazy full, and there's such a need to expand how many times we have these runs. I think we have a lot of other things we could be spending our money on. And yeah, great.
All right. I will now begin asking questions as proposed to the candidates from the audience. This one will start with Paul. What initiatives will you take to foster a safe environment for the students from the Multicultural Center and the Center of Students from the Center for Sexualities and Gender Diversity? Yeah,
Thank you. And I think that's a really relevant question, but I think it actually pertains to all the student organizations. And it comes back to the disconnect that I was talking about before. A lot of times, the faculty advisors and stuff, they aren't necessarily the right people for that job, and I think that needs to be addressed. The student leadership in these organizations need to identify if they're not having their needs met. They need to bring it up to Student Senate, who need to make themselves accessible and visible, and they need to bring it up to the advisors themselves. So those are the things that I think will really help push for a safer, open conversation about these problems that we've been having on campus. Thank you.
So this semester, we started something new with the Student Senate, where we're trying to build one-on-one relationships between not only just entities in the Student Senate, but with our centers of the Student Senates. And we have a really fantastic representative for those centers that's doing a really great job, who's here today. I won't call her name out just in case. But I think that that's one step, is using our student leadership to find out what our concerns are and to meet them. I know I identify in the LGBTQA spectrum, and I think our centers are a great place to have a safe space and to have conversations that are safe and to feel welcomed. I think that what we need to be looking at is how are we connecting students who don't identify as multicultural or as LGBTQA or as a veteran to still want to go into these spaces and have conversations. And it can be small things like, if you're a work study student, let's take out the headphones while we're working in the centers, or let's avoid taking naps on these really comfortable couches, which I know can be tempting. And that's one step. You know, we want to build communication. And we do have some phenomenal things in place, like safe zone training. I've been safe zone trained, so they help you build your knowledge on the sexuality spectrum and what it means to be cisgendered or identify as trans. And these are hot words that not everyone knows. And so I think that building these programs and helping build conversations to students who do not identify as someone that these centers are, you know, written like, oh, I'm not multicultural, I can't go in there. That is what we need to fight. We need to build that bridge. And so I think we have really great faculty and administrators and student leaders that can really do some great things and build those connections and start that communication.
First off, excuse me, I would like to reiterate what Ms. Tanis did say. We do have some incredible, at least one incredible senator that has been working her butt off in the Multicultural Center, as well as all the other centers within that area, to bring awareness to the Student Senate where at first there was none. I completely would like to help foster a community where there is no problems between gender, races, creeds, sexualities, or anything like that. I'd like to be able to work in the safe zones, to be able to actually entice people from the Multicultural Center to be, and any other center that fact, veterans, you know, international relations, things like that, to be able to actually come in, speak with whoever they might want to speak with. Obviously, I would say start with your advisor, see what your advisor says. If you don't agree with your advisor, which 9 times out of 10 most people don't, you know, bring it to a student senator. Student senators now have shirts that identify themselves as student senate. Therefore, and when they do wear them, if you do see them, I would simply ask them, and they can actually help bring up the situation within the Senate chamber themselves, and attempt to fix the problem, obviously. But that would definitely be a situation in which I would be more than willing to work with. Thank you.
All right. Our next question, I'm taking the liberty of merging together. They were very similar in content. And so it's going to flow a little bit basically, but I think we're going to be starting this next one with, is it Paul or Rebecca? Rebecca, okay. So the question is, why do students not approach, or why do students not reach out to the Student Senate or the SGA? And what are some concrete actions you'll take to make sure that the SGA is available to students and not just student leaders?
I think one step is building on our previous question. So there is a Student Government Association Center in Woodbury. I don't know how many people have really been in there or have been in there aside from going to their BSO mailbox to take something out. But I think one step is to make that a more welcoming environment. In addition to that, we have the ability to use spaces in Gorham. So I would really like to install senators doing office hours in Gorham as well. We've had this, it's been floating around, but we're seeing our campuses merge even more as our student life has been merged. And I think that's one asset that's going to expand and be a really great resource for helping students feel more comfortable and have more access to having these conversations. I think there's a lot we can do with transparency and how do we become welcoming. In addition to that, it's not only about helping you ask us questions, we should be asking you questions. We should be actively seeking your advice. If you're voting for me, I really strongly think we need to spend some time about how do we utilize our student government association, not just our senators and our student body president and vice president, but our entities and our leadership development board and our BSO leaders. These are all people that are here for you and want to see you succeed as much as they want to see themselves succeed. And I strongly think that some of our BSO leaders would happily answer your questions if they know the answer. And those are people that might understand SGA more and might be able to say, oh yeah, I know when Senate meets, because it meets right after our meetings. So it's about having these conversations be normal and about being welcoming and starting the conversations ourselves.
The SGA as a whole is a very large entity within itself that starts off with obviously the SGA, and then underneath of that you've got your Senate and your executive branches, and then you move down under that you have your 6 or 7 entities that fall under there. So there's a very large, diverse group of people within the SGA. We have spent quite a bit of time this year in the Senate answering or trying to answer that same question, as a matter of fact, as to what we can do as senators to go ahead and get ourselves out there to be more accessible to you. First, some of the things that we have done have been creating of an email, which unfortunately is yet to be used. We've tried to go ahead and table and do all this other miscellaneous stuff, but unfortunately nothing has worked. I personally believe that if there is any person that wants to have their voices heard, go to a student Senate meeting. It is completely open. If you have any particular questions and you are a member of an organization, for example, let's use our Veterans Resource Center, and you have questions in regards to how something works in the Senate or in the SGA atmosphere, and that person can't answer that question, then they can direct you to the BSO leadership. Now, BSO leadership should be able to answer your question. If they can't, then obviously I would recommend you come up to the Senate or even speak to, if you vote for me, myself, and I'll be more than happy to answer the question for you, assuming that I know the answer. If not, obviously I would find out and I would go ahead and get back to you on that topic. But I do believe that the Senate, all the students should have complete and utter access to all of the student senators in any way that they need to be able to find out about current situations or current events, what's going on university-wide or anything like that. So it looks like my time is up. Thank you very much.
All right, so I've kind of touched upon this a little bit, but I want to expand upon it. Student representation is one of the most effective ways to get everybody heard. I think it should come to no one's surprise that it's about 20, maybe 30 students that run most of the student government that goes on here at the university. And to a large part, that's testament to their ambition. They do a lot. But at the same time, it isn't serving the needs of all the students. So we need to increase student representation. I want to pull different people in with different ideas. And the other part is we need to place the responsibility for going out and talking to people on the student government itself. Just like our other candidate was saying, it shouldn't be the students always trying to figure out how do I go about solving this problem. The responsibility should be on the senators and the other student leaders to go out and say, what are the issues that you're having? How can I address them? And that's what I'm going to do as student body president. Thank you.
Okay, so this question, we're going to start with John. This is a question from the audience. As as a member of Greek Life, I feel that the school doesn't really support us. How would you change that? And what would you personally do to support us?
Well, I was approached to be a member of Greek Life, and unfortunately I'm not at this point in time. But I do support, and has been talk at the Senate level of actually having another entity added to the Senate itself for Greek Life specifically. Now that has only been talk, therefore nothing is actually in fruition. I would be completely for it. That would allow Greek Life to be able to integrate themselves into the current structure that we have, rather than just them coming up to us whenever they need money to go to some kind of ceremony or something like that, and they come up to us and say, hey, we need some money, and we vote on it, we give them the money, and go from there. That's pretty much the only contact that we've had with the Greek Life, and I really would like to see that changed. I do know that a lot of our senators are in Greek Life and want to see the same thing. The only way is to sit down with I guess you could call it the Greek Council and the Senate itself, and actually figure out what the best way to do that would be, so that way everybody who is in Greek Life would be satisfied with that situation. And I am all for adding Greek Life and helping them out and adding them into USM more than they actually currently are right now. Thank you.
I think this problem comes right back to communication. We actually just had Greek Week, and we just finished that up, and a lot of the fraternities and sororities did a real good job at it, but a lot of students didn't even know that it happened. It comes back to communication. I think that we need to empower these organizations by giving them an avenue to talk to the students. These events should be on the news flush and other things. And it comes back to student representations. Greek Life does a pretty good job of trying to get their foot in as far as student senate and student government. But I think that the student government should not just monitor these groups, but try to support them and empower them, try to find them the resources that they can do to make it bigger and better and create traditions here at USM. Thank you.
So my partner and I actually have a fair amount of experience with Greek Life. He is a transfer student, and he was actually on his executive board of his fraternity at his former school. And I have been a member of Greek Life here at USM. Congratulations, Kappa Iota, for winning Greek Week. I was an honorary member for a day to play on their kickball team. It was a lot of fun. I think our Greek Life is a real big asset. I think that they really embody Metropolitan University. We saw Alpha Zeta Delta have a lot of fun with Z-Man and raise over $800 for their philanthropy in one night, and had a lot of fun and got a lot of students on campus involved. Lower Brooks was packed. I believe that's one of the largest events, except for I think stress relief and prize bingo, that happens in Gorham. So we have such a big asset with Greek Life. It's about helping them advertise to other students, helping spread this word, and also creating a positive stereotype. I think it's so easy to say, oh, Greek Life, or oh, this frat did this. Our fraternities and sororities really do some great things, and I think it's about time that we start recognizing that and changing this stereotype and embracing this. And it's about making connections. So Phi Mu Delta and Kappa Delta Phi, those two fraternities, help stand at the doors at the drag show every year. The last 2 years, at least, they have, not every year. I don't know before that. But those are the connections that we want to see. Those are how we really start this communication and start these positive stereotypes. And so that's something that, with my experience with Greek Life and my connections already established with Greek Life, sadly we're losing Casey Lancaster, who is currently helping Greek Life, but I think that they're really going to grow as our university grows.
Okay, and the last question that we have submitted from the audience, I believe we're going to be starting this one with Rebecca, or Paul. Paul, we're going to be starting this one with Paul. All right. And the question is, what experience do you have working with the university administration, and how will you work to build a good rapport with them?
Thank you. I don't have much experience with our administration right now, and obviously it's changing over as far as the president, but I do have a lot of experience in student government and leadership experience. I have 7 years in student government. I started when I was in the 6th grade, and I did it all the way through high school. So I'm familiar with parliamentary procedure and how to get things done in student government. But then I also have had opportunities to have leadership experience. When I was in the Navy at 20 years old, I became one of the youngest supervisors in my command. I used to work on planes, and I had 8 to 10 technicians that worked for me. They did inspections on jets, and pilots' lives depended on it. So it was a lot of responsibility. But I think what I learned most is just about being a leader and learning also how to manage people, about delegation, communication, and those are the things that I want to bring to the table, and teamwork. One of the things I think a good leader should do, more than just manage, is they should bring out the best in people. I want to create a rapport and a relationship with the administration, because I'm a fresh face, I bring fresh ideas. Thank you.
So about connections with administration, I'm actually really fortunate. I already have fantastic connections with administration because I have 2.5 years of experience in Student Government Association. So the first thing that I did when I became student body vice president is I literally sent out so many emails saying, hey, when can you meet? Hey, when can you meet? And I was here throughout the summer and meeting with different administrators and saying, hey, tell me what your job is. What is it specifically you do so that I know if a student asks me a question specifically about our mark, specifically about our advertisement, specifically about, the bathroom doors in Woodbury opening and hitting someone, and how do we address that concern? I know who to go to, and I know what their priorities are and what they're currently working on right now. And so I already have this relationship with our administrators, and I would be so pleased to continue this next year as your student body president. I really enjoy, we have some phenomenal administrators. I think they really are on our side. And I think a big piece of this is communication. We need to have more communication. In case some of you didn't know, Senate this year has had an administrator at the majority of their meetings. We just had someone at it this Friday. And so the question is, how are we telling students, hey, we just had someone talk about the budget last Friday at our student Senate meetings. I have been in charge of the website this year, online, usm.maine.edu/SGA, so our minutes should be up there. I think that there's still plenty of work that can be done on our website overall and accessibility, but what is a better way to communicate with our students and let them know, hey, we've learned this knowledge, here, have it, this is what's going on. So great, I already have the relationship with the administrators. Now let's bring that to the students. So I beat the learning curve.
Well, as I said earlier, if I'm not working, then I'm not doing my job. So, and I'm sure every single senator that is out there right now can probably attest to this, but I have spent probably the majority of the year on the 6th and 7th floor of the law building. And I have made some incredible relationships, not with the current administration. Not only was I able to make a relationship with our current president, who subsequently gave me a recommendation for a summer internship, which I appreciate. But I have spent plenty of time with Chris Quint, who is the executive director of marketing and branding here at USM. I have gone ahead and I've spent plenty of time talking with Tom Dunn, talking with our old CFO, Dick Campbell, as well as we just had as Rebecca said, we had an executive there, Buster. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head, but he is the new CFO, going through talking to us about all the financial issues. But I made it a point to get up to make sure that I had the ability to get up onto those floors, make myself show my face and say, hey, I'm a member of the Student Senate. This is what we're trying to do. What can we do to help? What can we do to fix the problem? or anything like that. I have multiple contacts within the administrative side of the university. I've had some very positive ones with our incoming president, Dr. Kesselman, and believe that with those, and not only those, but I have also made quite a few on the board of trustees at the same time, with the advocacy programs that I have been doing with Laura Sear, trying to bring this university another 3.4% in state funding for the next 2 fiscal years. So I believe that with the contacts in which I have made, I would be probably the prime candidate to be able to work well with the administration to get the voice of the students heard, to get them to understand where the students are coming from, what the students want. And at this point in time, it's actually, the tide is kind of turning over the last couple of weeks to where we've had that ability. Thank you.
All right, and those are the questions that have been submitted from the audience at this time. I want to thank all of our candidates for participating in the debates, and let all of you know that voting will be going live after Meet the Candidates, which is right after this. And I want to tell you how you can vote. If you go to usm.maine.edu/SGA, you'll see a link on the side that says USM Votes 2015. If you click that, you'll see where the polls are open. There's 2 different types of ballots. There's residential ballots for students living on campus and commuter ballots for those who are commuting. Those will allow you to vote for your constituency-based senators, so residential senators or commuter senators, as well as the student body president candidates and the referendum questions that you've heard referenced in today's debate. You can also find all the information on the elections on this website as well. New this year, by voting in the election, you'll be entered into a raffle to win up to $100 in Husky Bucks. So we'll be pulling multiple winners who participate in the elections process this year, so even more incentive to get involved. At this time, do we have any people running for any offices, including senator positions in the audience? If we do, we want to do some closing statements. All right, so we're gonna do some closing statements from our candidates. It sounds like we're gonna start with Paul.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to do some quick closing statements. I didn't get to say everything that I wanted to say, but I wanted to bring up something that made me want to run for student government in the first place. And it was just earlier this month that I went to a BSO meeting, a Board of Student Organizations. And at that meeting, they were holding elections for their officer positions. There are 4 positions, all of which are paid, which I think is fantastic. But I was a little taken back when I found out that there were only 4 people running for those positions. Each person went uncontested to that position. And I had to digest that. I had to think about it for a little bit. We have way over 5,000 students. How can only 4 be interested in an opportunity that's gonna go on their resume, that gives them experience, and they get paid to do? So I think it's evidence of a broken system. So my question to you is that the way you want your student government to be ran? I want to make sure that every student, it made me upset because I wondered how many opportunities I've missed out on as a student here at USM because I didn't know about them. And how are students supposed to reach their potential if they don't know about the opportunities that exist here on campus, let alone out there in the world? So I want to increase transparency in student government, increase student representation, and I want to increase communication. Please give me the opportunity to make this the best university that we've ever had. Thank you.
So I guess this is the time when I answer, why should you vote for me? What is the overall message? I think it's easy to say that I have the most experience in student government association. That's simply a number, 2.5 years, but really it's more than that. So I already have connections with our entity heads and our student leaders and our administrators and our student life faculty. And these are what we need to access in order to grow and to thrive and to cater to our students more. I understand the makeup of Student Government Association and how to empower our students better. because voting for me is not just voting for one student leader. You're voting for everyone else that's going to be at this meeting where we're developing our vision and what we want to see for next year as student leaders. What are our goals? What are going to be our first action steps? Secondly, I have been really involved. So if you have a question, please come ask me. I would really love to answer it. I would love to cater to you and what you would like to have addressed. I don't know how many of you know StrengthsFinder. I know I've already talked about it a little bit, but my number one strength is being a relator. I'm naturally inclined to listen and to empathize with you and to hear your concerns. On top of that, I have discipline. So when I say, I'm going to do this, immediately I sit down and I make a list. These are the first 3 things I'm going to do. And this first task, this is the first person I'm going to talk to, and I'm going to talk to them by this date. So voting for me means you're going to see outcomes. You're going to see problems solved. And there's no learning curve because it's going to be a seamless transition. I was a student senator. I joined the Student Affairs Committee. I transitioned to be your vice president, and I would absolutely love for you to trust me with becoming your student body president. I think that it would be really fun, and I just hope, no matter what, that you vote. And I am really excited for next year. Great, thank you.
Okay, I get the luxury of being the last person on the mic tonight, so bear with me just one moment. Now, I do want to mimic a lot of the stuff that Ms. Tanis did say. I have tremendous amounts of knowledge in regards to student government, the administration. I have a lot of ideas as to what we should and should not do, things like that. However, what I will say is I'm not doing this strictly for the money that is put into this position. I could care less about it. I'm here because I love USM. I'm here because I want to be, the student body president of USM, but at the same time, I want to help all of the members of USM, and the students of USM to be able to overcome not only this tragic time that we've had over the last year, but to help rebuild in what we have been doing or what we have strived to start doing. So now, as I said before, and I've said multiple times, and will probably say again, if I'm not working, then I'm not doing my job. So just remember that a vote for myself and my running mate, Mackenzie McCadden, is a vote for a stronger USM voice. Thank you very much.
Again, we want to thank everyone for joining us and thank the candidates for their time. At this time, if anyone's interested, we have food over here, and we have candidates for the Senate positions as well as the candidates you've met as part of the debate and their vice president candidates as well. Thank you.